Welcome to another deep dive where we get to really dig into someone's career. And today, it's Janne Uusilehto.
Yeah, Jan.
Jan, okay, Janne Uusilehto. And he is a true pioneer. I mean, you look at his career in security and privacy engineering, you can really see that. So we've got a ton of information to go through here. We've got his LinkedIn profile, which is really detailed. We have a summary of his accomplishments. And we even have a YouTube interview where he talks about product security.
Wow.
So our mission today is to find those golden threads. What are those formative experiences and those core values that shaped his career? And what makes him so relevant in the age of AI?
Yeah, it is so interesting to see how his career path kind of seems unconventional at first glance. But when you see how each step builds on the last, you really see the remarkable impact he's had.
I mean, who would have thought that a computer animator in the 1980s would end up leading global security initiatives for some of the biggest tech companies in the world?
Right.
He was developing games, running his own TV commercial studio. You don't really see that as the typical path to cybersecurity leadership.
But those early experiences, I think they really show his adaptability and even that innate ability to connect with people. You think about creating animations, developing games, producing commercials. All those things require a deep understanding of your audience. And also, you need to be able to solve problems quickly and embrace those new technologies. All essential skills for a security leader.
Yeah, it's almost like he was laying the groundwork for a future in security leadership without even knowing it. And speaking of leadership, his time at Nokia in the mid-90s and early 2000s is really where things take off. This was the dawn of the mobile age. And Gene was right there on the front lines developing the security architecture for Symbian OS and Nokia
Oh,
OS,
wow.
which at the time were the dominant phone operating systems. Huge.
Yeah,
Mobile security was practically uncharted territory back then.
it really was.
He wasn't just following a blueprint, he was creating it.
Yeah.
And the scale of what he was doing is incredible. He created the world's largest public key infrastructure for smartphone software signing. I know public key infrastructure sounds a little technical, but think about it this way. It's that system that makes sure the apps you download on your phone are actually from the developers, they say they are, and haven't been messed with. It's like a digital fingerprint
Okay.
that verifies the origin of the app and makes sure that it hasn't been tampered with.
That makes sense.
His work in this area was essential for establishing trust and security in the mobile world, which was just starting to grow.
It really was the Wild West back then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we see it reflected in what his colleagues say about him.
Totally.
They all point to this period as proof of his foresight and how he can anticipate problems and come up with really effective solutions.
Like Timo Skida, who worked with it at Nokia,
Yeah.
he said that Jane essentially built Nokia's mobile security capability from nothing,
From the ground up?
from the ground up.
Wow.
And it wasn't just about his technical knowledge, it was about leadership vision, inspiring a team to tackle these brand new challenges.
Which is really interesting because we see this collaborative approach consistently highlighted by his colleagues,
Yes.
even in such a high-stakes field like security.
Yeah.
Irfan McCulloch, who also worked with him, pointed out how Jane always focused on how people interact with security frameworks.
Right.
It wasn't just about building systems, it was about understanding how people use and experience them.
That human-centric approach is a theme throughout his career, and it really makes him stand out.
It does.
He was also key in setting international security standards. He served as the chairman of the Trusted Computing Group's Mobile Working Group.
Oh, wow.
They developed the first global standard for the Mobile Trusted Module. And that standard has now been adopted by the International Organization for Standardization, ISOSO.
So he was bringing competitors together to work together to improve security for everyone. That's not just technical expertise, that's leadership and vision.
And a commitment to the greater good.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how he bridges the gap between technical expertise and human understanding. And his colleagues constantly praise his leadership. They talk about his ability to not just manage, but to mentor and coach.
Yeah.
Irfan McCulloch mentioned how Jan helped his team develop a risk-to-incident framework.
Yeah.
And he really encouraged them to learn from incidents and continuously improve.
So he's not just building systems, he's building teams.
Yeah,
He's fostering trust and empowering individuals to grow.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that focus on the human element, that emphasis on mentorship and development, that's something really special and incredibly valuable, especially in tech, which is constantly changing.
Yeah, especially now.
Right.
Yeah.
And all of this prepared him for what was next. Cloud computing and the rise of artificial intelligence.
That's like all of his experiences from animation to mobile security leadership were preparing him for these new challenges and opportunities.
And his move to Microsoft, where he led the complete redesign and innovation of the next-generation privacy program for Azure Cloud, shows he could adapt and excel in a completely new environment. And it wasn't just about overseeing the process, he was deeply involved. He personally conducted and approved over 600 Azure product-level privacy reviews every year.
Wow.
That's incredible dedication and attention to detail.
It really shows how meticulous he is and how committed he is to making sure that every product meets the highest privacy standards. It wasn't just building a system, it was building a culture of privacy
Right.
within the organization.
Within the organization.
And then he goes to Google and takes on a whole new challenge. He redesigned the privacy program for Google Workspace, what used to be called G Suite.
Oh, yeah.
And you think about all that data and all those users, that's huge, especially since he had very limited resources to work with.
So he had to be creative.
He did. He used what's called a shift-left approach. So he built privacy into the products from the very start instead of trying to fix problems later on.
Kind of like preventative healthcare for data privacy.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
much more proactive and effective in the long run, especially at a place like Google where new products and features are always being developed. Yeah, and then you look at his work on privacy certifications. That's another example of his dedication to setting high standards.
Yeah.
At Microsoft, he managed over 50 national certifications for Azure Cloud Services. And then at Google, he led the way for the first ISO 27701 certifications for Google Workspace and Google Cloud Platform.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Those certifications are like a seal of approval from an independent organization.
Yeah.
They verify that a company's products and services meet strict international standards for privacy and data protection.
Right. And it really helped build trust with customers and show Google's commitment to protecting user data.
Yeah, that's important.
And it shows how well he understands both the technical and legal sides of privacy. It's not just about checking boxes and following the rules. It's about really making privacy part of the products and services people use every day.
And what's impressive is that with all these accomplishments, he still made time to give back. He lectured on mobile security at different universities, sharing his knowledge and inspiring the next generation of security professionals.
He's really committed to learning and mentoring. It's a big part of who he is.
It is. He's not just a leader in the field. He's an educator, a mentor, a true advocate for responsible tech development.
And that really shines through.
To really get into Jan's head about product security, we need to look at his YouTube interview. He makes some really insightful points about how it goes beyond just traditional cybersecurity.
He says it's about thinking about security throughout the entire life of a product, from the design phase all the way to when it's retired. It's about predicting threats, building in protections, and making sure security isn't an afterthought.
It's got to be in the DNA of the product.
Exactly.
And he stresses that it's not just about protecting the product itself. It's also about protecting the business, using the product, and the people who rely on it.
Yeah, building that foundation of trust and enabling secure transactions so people can confidently use technology without worrying about their data.
Right.
He also talks about how to measure product security. It's not just about getting a good score or checking off boxes.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the level of risk, seeing what the product can do, and most importantly, considering the needs of the user.
A human element.
Always the human element.
Yes.
It's a really nuanced and holistic approach.
Which fits perfectly with his human-centric philosophy.
Exactly.
So when we look back at Jan's career, we see innovation leadership and a strong commitment to using technology responsibly.
Yeah, he's more than just a tech expert.
He is. He's a visionary leader who understands that technology is powerful and needs to be used carefully with consideration for how it impacts people's lives.
Absolutely. And his story really resonates, especially as we deal with the increasing complexity of artificial intelligence.
Speaking of AI, it's amazing how all of his experiences prepared him for this new era. From those early days as a computer animator to his leadership in mobile security and cloud privacy.
He's got such a diverse skill set, a collaborative approach, a deep understanding of security and privacy, and most importantly, a human-centric leadership style.
It's like he was unknowingly preparing for this moment all along.
And all of that makes him incredibly well-suited to guide us through the challenges and opportunities of the AI age.
So what can our listeners take away from all of this, besides maybe brushing up on their computer animation skills?
Well, I think Jan's career really shows how valuable diverse experiences can be, even if they don't seem directly related at the time. Those early days as an animator, running his own studio, dealing with clients, It all helped him learn to lead teams, manage projects, and solve those tough problems.
It's like he was training for leadership without even knowing it.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. The skills you're learning now, whatever you're doing, they might be setting you up for success in ways you can't even imagine.
You never know.
You really don't. It's all about making those connections, seeing the bigger picture, and understanding how all those different experiences can come together to make you a better leader.
And his story also shows how important it is to be proactive, to look for chances to learn and grow. He didn't just wait for things to happen. He went after leadership roles, got involved in industry groups, even took on the challenge of teaching at universities.
Exactly. If you want to make a difference, don't wait for someone to give you permission. Step up, volunteer for that project, find mentors, share what you know.
Take charge of your own growth.
Yeah, and I think one of the most important things we can learn from Jan is how crucial it is to build real connections with people.
So many of his colleagues talked about his mentorship, his collaborative approach, how he could inspire and motivate teams.
Those are the qualities that make a truly great leader.
Absolutely.
And as we move into this world of AI and all these new technologies, those human-centered leadership skills are going to be more important than ever. We need leaders who can build trust, who can encourage people to work together, and who can guide us toward a future where technology is used to help people.
Not the other way around.
Exactly.
Jane's story reminds us that you don't have to have all the answers to be a good leader.
That's so true.
It's more about being humble enough to admit what you don't know, curious enough to keep learning, and willing to let others share their knowledge and expertise.
It's not a one-man show.
Definitely not.
It's about building relationships, creating a sense of community, and working together toward a common goal.
This deep dive into Jan's career has been really fascinating. He's a true pioneer in security and privacy,
He is.
and his journey from computer animator to global security leader is really inspiring.
It shows what you can achieve with curiosity, adaptability, and a human-centered approach to technology.
And what stood out to me was his constant drive to learn and how dedicated he was to developing his team. He wasn't just a leader, he was a coach and a mentor. And you can see how all of that has made him so ready for this era of AI.
It really has.
Huh.
His story shows us that we all have the potential to make a difference, no matter where we start or what path we take. The key is to never stop learning, to look for opportunities to grow and contribute, and to use our skills and experiences to create a future where technology helps humanity.
So keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into a whole new world of fascinating insights.